Good morning and welcome to Jung at Harp, episode number 192. How do mindset and context trap us or free us? I'm Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian psychoanalyst in North Carolina in the States. I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, who is a composer, performer, educator, mentor. We both play the harp, and that's why we call this Jung at Harp. And we come together almost every week, but every other week, whatever. We come together to focus on a question. We don't start with answers. We start with the questions that we explore through the art of conversation with one another and with you if you're joining live. Hopefully you can add your comments into the chat and we'll be able to pull them up and bring them into our conversation live. So we start with a question that we want to explore, and hopefully by the end, whether or not we have answers or not, hopefully we do have some next steps that we might take and you might take in terms of how do we begin to move differently and move more towards what we want. So this morning, we're going to explore mindset and context. And I'm just going to lead off by saying, I was at a professional meeting last week, and we had a memorial service for our colleagues who had passed in the previous year. And the woman who was leading it was using some music she was playing off the internet. And afterwards, a colleague and friend of mine who knows I play the harp, he came up to me and he said, "Oh, the harp would have just been perfect for that." And so it got me to thinking about that. And one of my desires when I retire or semi-retire from being an analyst is to really be able to play for settings, which would be settings of service, in hospice or memorial services. Settings where the intention is not performing and being a great harpist, but the intention is to set an atmosphere or a space for people to move through their own process, which is what I do as an analyst, except in a different way. And so I was thinking about that. So I have let myself this week have time at the harp where I imagined that I was playing for this memorial for my colleagues. And what would I play? And letting myself really sink into a felt sense of being in that space. And it was very satisfying. I started out with a very simple tune that's a pattern that repeats, has a couple of repetitions. And what I found happening is I settled into the pattern, but then my fingers might not land on quite the right note, but it was still a variation of the pattern. And it was beautiful. It was setting a meditative, contemplative, reflective space. So I experienced the power of my mindset and being in a particular context, imagining into it, actually bolstering my ability to be, quote, a great harpist, unquote. And that's a bold statement to say. I wouldn't, but in that moment, it felt like I was offering just what was right. And it's such a contrast to when I imagine I'm having to play with a group of people where I feel I have to perform and get it a certain way because they have their ideas about the way the music should sound and what harmony I should use or shouldn't use. And it's just a totally different context where my mindset goes somewhere that's not at all helpful to the harpist I am and my abilities really coming forth. So that was part of my interest in exploring this. And I want to hear what you have to say, Deborah.
Yeah, so much in what you said. Originally, I wanted to speak about it because it's the holiday season, and I've just come out with this fake book, and we're going to release it probably on Monday or Tuesday, and it comes along with this play along sessions, and it's what I've been trying to train people to do for years. It's a very simple process, and I find that often people are resistant to it because it's so simple. And it's hard for people to get in their minds music as like I sometimes call it journeyman music, and it comes from my grandmother Edith. So I had two grandmothers, Anna and Edith, and Anna was from, she was an immigrant. She came from Russia, and, art was art. You would sing or you would play to be an artist. But Edith was many generations here in Swede, and she said, look, and I think she was maybe even responding to, like, see your other relatives? Look here, kid. People have to sing. Someone's got to keep them together. That's why you play music. And that's how she played music. And so there was always a piano. She would always sit down and play. She was never playing to show people what she could do. Never. She was always playing in service. People have to sing. Someone has to keep them together. Learn how to play the piano so you can do that. It's a job. It's a thing to do in the world. It's a service. And growing up with these two ethics has been really important. And there have been times when I shied away from that ethic. And I'm just remembering an event right now. I was playing at a wedding, and I was trying to make sure that I was proving myself as a harpist. I mean, this was really important to me when I was young and younger. and I was at this wedding, and we had hired a singer to sing with us, a singer I really loved. And at one point she said, okay, everybody, let's sing You Are My Sunshine. And I was like, oh, are you? No. Like, that's the worst thing we can do to prove that I'm good. But she didn't have any problem with it. And I was like, what are you? And she got everybody singing. And I just sat there and thought, here's this exquisite artist. I'm one of the most beautiful singers I ever heard. And she was leading everybody in singing, and it was amazing, and it was beautiful, and it opened up that possibility in my life. I mean, like, that moment it reconnected me with Edith. And so I'm very aware of this right now, because I'm in the middle of trying to, like, get people to be like, I made this fake book. It's super easy. It makes it easy to play holiday songs. We've got holiday, we've got Christmas, we've got Advent, we've got Hanukkah. Play. Just go on. It's simple. You can do the same thing over and over again. All the songs are in C. Once you learn it, you can do it. It's about doing it. It's not about proving anything through it. And I'm noticing that people will get, well, aren't they all going to sound the same? Or, they're worried about that. And I'm thinking, don't worry about that. It's, get comfortable with it. Once you're comfortable, I can show you a million things that you can do to add to it. And some of them are in the book. And so I'm in the midst of this thing, and I was, okay, and then I'll bring in two more things. But I have exactly the same problem when it comes to social media. Will I just show up and do the thing and let my voice be out there and let it be okay? No, I have to worry about it being complicated. I have to, like, right now, I can't even post on Instagram because my Instagram has been hacked. And part of me is like, thank goodness, there's an excuse why I have to do that. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I started working, preparing for my show. I have a show in January, and I really want to play a lot of the stuff that I don't usually play. I want to play, and I started playing some of the songs that are most meaningful to me of mine, some that I've never done in concert. And at one moment I'm like, well, wait a minute, is this impressive? Like, what? Blah, blah, blah. Like, is someone going to... My brain still goes to, is this impressive? Next, final thing that I want to throw in the pot here. So I'm working on all these Christmas songs, and the Harp Academy members are being like, use this song, use this. Like, they're kind of compiling them. Hey, what about this song and this song? And so I'm seeing all kinds of songs I've never seen before, holiday songs, and I'm simplifying the chords so that they're going to be really easy to play. And one of them was a song called All the Beasts, something like that. And I'd never heard the song before, and I went and I looked on YouTube, and I looked at it, and I wrote to Gustavo, the copyist who's helping, and I said, the whole point of this song, it's super simple. The whole point of the song seems to be that every one of the animals gives whatever they have. I'm a sheep, okay, I'm going to give you wool. I'm a cow. I got udders. You're going to get milk. I got wool. You're going to get wool. I got udders. You're going to get udders.
Right.
I've got this. You're going to get that. But each of them is just saying, yeah, I'm going to give you what I got. And there was something, it kind of got into my head that, and I was saying the whole point of this song is this, so we have to put all the words in because there's nothing else there in the song. But it really got to me, all of this stuff together, hearing some Academy members worry, about, am I going to play the Christmas song in an interesting way? When it's really, you're playing so people can hear the music, and you're playing so people can, and it's an opportunity for you to get comfortable with the structure of improv and how it works. And me worried about social media to the level that I make my Instagram thing get hacked. I'm not saying it's my fault, but what if I did? Me afraid to play the songs that are most meaningful to me. And then, anyway, so this is all. And then you said, when I gave this to you, you said, but of course, it's shame. And I was like, no.
Yeah, for those of you who join us regularly, shame periodically comes up.
If you call periodically every week, yes.
Yes, period. I mean, I have been in private practice for over 30 years now. Isn't that amazing? And I have decided ultimately for all of us, what blocks us more than anything else from having our voice and offering our gift and doing the thing we can do is shame. We don't feel like we're good enough. We feel like we're innately bad. We're not valuable. We're not worthy. So then we start putting on all kinds of facades and all kinds of armor and all kinds of fancy this and that to try to feel like we're good enough. As you were talking, one of the things that occurred to me was when you said simplicity, was if we stay with the simplicity, the lack of embellishment, and I'm thinking about this psychologically as well as with the harp. If I stick with not embellishing who I am and the simplicity, the purity, the closer to my own experience and how I express myself, I'm much more exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I hear musicians, and my husband, who's a great old time Irish fiddler, as well as every other folk string except the harp. He doesn't, I got the harp. Um, he'll say it takes a lot more skill to play slowly. That if you're playing really fast and you're sounding all these embellishments, you can get away with being sloppy. You can get away with being disconnected from the music.
One of the reasons I like it, well, it is,
Right. But if
right,
yeah, but if there's a simplicity, then who
right.
you are, your mindset, your context internally, your own inner state of emotion, and it's going to come through.
Yeah, and I would just say, I would come back to the word sloppy and just say, just so people don't worry that there's some precision that has to come along with that. And as you
Right.
were speaking, it reminded me, so in Hip Harp Academy, there's classes where people are learning things. There's live sessions where I teach an improv prompt, and then people share what they're working on. And often the people are sharing just to get used to sharing, like that sharing anything. And often people lately, and I really love it, are just being like, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to share, and so I did. So I threw this together right before I came on. And it's great. It's
Yeah.
so great, because what is happening is we're starting to be able to see the person, not the thing they crafted. And one thing that someone shared this week, and it was mesmerizing. And it was almost like it was O Como Come Emmanuel,
Hmm.
that Christmas song, and it was presented almost like a Gregorian chant. So
Hmm.
you really heard the melody, and it started out with just the melody. The simplest things were added, very simple, and it was just absolutely, I don't know how to describe it, but the person was so within their wheelhouse. she was expressing the thing that was easiest for her to express. The challenge that she was having was being okay that that was simple and easy for her. And when she talked about like what she thought of it, she was like, yeah, but it's so nothing, it's so simple. And I just got to say again and again, I refused to play the song The Nightingale for years because to me it wasn't a real song. It was so simple, it had no value. And it took many people to convince me of what is there, and what is there is the opportunity to be self-expressed. And so what does that mean? I mean, we often, I mean, okay, because I love bombast. Yes, I do. That's part of my character, is I love to just, I want to be a flamenco dancer, but I don't want to learn how to flamenco dance, so I'm just going to pretend to do it. You know, I mean, that is me, and it comes across as virtuosity. But in a simple thing like you can be so musical with just that. And then I think some of people would say, well, yeah, but what else is there? So one of the things that I try to teach, and I want to understand it for myself, is that, for example, if you're playing a holiday song like Joy to the World, it's really, I love that because it's super simple. It's all scales, so I don't have to remember what the frickin' leaps are in the song. That it can be done so simply. And if I want to pretend to be a great harpist, which I do like to pretend, and I've built my career on pretending that, I can do so many things when I'm not playing the melody. There's all this space. Even if I have very little skill and all I'm doing is a glissando, but I get to do it with the sense of wind and the sense of breeze and the sense of I'm creating something. And then I mean, like, I don't have to play a lot of notes in order to be able to play with that sense of creativity. But I remember, or that sense of self-expression, but I remember early on when I was like in my 20s or something, thinking, you do not have a right, Deborah, you do not have a right to play like this, as if a single note was important. You don't have the right to play as if that's important as beautiful. You will only have the right to do that once you can play a lot more notes. And I get the same thing. So with myself on social media, no, you cannot go out there and just be yourself. It's not okay. Something is not okay about it. Help! Kathleen, help!
Well, I think part of it is we have to claim it is okay. But, to claim it is okay means we have to confront our shame. We have to confront our own self-negating voice. We have to confront our own self-denigration. We have to confront any of those voices in our head that we have internalized from the past that represent to us that sense of disdain for who we are. And, one of the things that Jung says is he says, on the journey toward consciousness and wholeness, the first step is confrontation with oneself. And that's enough to scare most people off. I mean, those are his words.
Well, let me ask you something. So I am constantly teaching this in the class. I am constantly saying, if your voices come up, find something to love. Find something to love in your playing. Great, blah, 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 blah. I say, I'm telling people to do it. And you're saying, sorry, sorry, and yet I am not doing it. I mean, I am sometimes. Okay, so how about you, Miss Jungian analyst? Do you have trouble with it too?
I have my own journey with that, and it shows up in various places. And, one of the ways it's shown up again, and it's in this book project in my embodiment circle. And I'm very happy to report I've gotten much more comfortable in talking about that than I have been in the past. I think the simplicity, there was something that you just said, and it took me back to the importance of mindset and context. And that if our mindset is, I'm not good enough, or I'm not getting it right, and that takes us back to a context of being shamed for we missed a note, or shamed because we were asked not to play at a jam, or whatever it was. I mean, then that mindset and context, the mindset takes us back to a context that's not the reality now. And so part of how we get out of shame is we get into the reality we are in now. We have to stand firmly in who we are now, not who we were then. And I think this is an important aspect of context, you know, that go
Is it
ahead.
who we are now? I mean, or who we are playing for now? Because I'm thinking that when we were talking about context, I was saying how much I am just determined that harpists will be able to use this holiday season to be, to be that thing that brings, like to be that voice in that service that would have made a difference to people, that would have let them experience it in a different way,
Mhm.
or that brings the sound of, not recorded music that's perfect and produced, but people being able, well, I teach harpists, but anybody, to be that voice of, yes, you have music. Yes, you, not your record player, or, well, I just got an old Victrola, so I'm saying record player, but not something that's been recorded and perfected, but music, the wild music, the music that exists that you can just go and touch. So,
Well, but I think you're bringing the other side of that. If I'm in the context of who I am now, then I also am going to be grounded in the context of who I am with and the environment and the setting in which I'm playing. But you can't be in the context of where you are now with other people if you're not in the context of who you are now. They go together. And I do believe they go together. I think they coexist. And I think this is part of the mindset we were talking about earlier about if you have a mindset of service, if I have a mindset that I am there to serve to serve the service, serve this memorial and set an atmosphere, that is one context, right? For me and the people who are there. If I have a mindset that I'm performing, and so I want to take people on a journey through the music, then that creates another context. I then become the facilitator of the experience, which is different in my mind than setting the atmosphere. Although we could make an argument that the atmosphere helps facilitate, but we're more the guide in the taking someone on a journey in my mind at this moment. It could change later. So I think that somehow the two things go together. The context where I am now and who I am with in that context.
yeah, it's interesting, as you were saying that, a poem came into my head by Oliver Wendell Holmes, and I understood it in a kind of a new way. The poem is, "A few can touch the magic string." And by magic string, I think he meant fame.
Mm.
So, because he was constantly struggling with that in his own life and thinking about it. But a few can touch the magic string, and noisy fame is proud to win them. Alas, for those who never, sorry, one moment.
Yeah.
Alas, for those who never sing and die with all their music in them. So a few can touch the magic string, and noisy fame is proud to win them. But alas, for those who never sing and die with all their music in them. And I think what he was saying, and he was a prolific writer, and not all his stuff was great. He wrote what's called occasional poetry. It was for occasions, which is very much like what you're saying. So he was with people like Whittier and Lowell and all those, the famous poets and stuff. I think they were his friends. So they were all like writing poetry for blah 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 blah, and they were poets,
Mhm.
poets. But he was a poet as well, and his poetry, some of it was profound, but most of it was to set a scene, or exactly like what you just said. It was for a memorial or it was for an event. It was in service of. And so it's easy to say, well, he wasn't a really great poet. But is that important? Because he's saying in that poem, yes, some people are going to be famous, but that doesn't mean that you don't have music in you, and that music is important in the world. And
Yeah.
this is what I mean, I love to train both things because I am the granddaughter of these two grandmothers who each experienced music in a different way, and it bring power and beauty into the world. And I want so much to give both of those things because they are both sides of self-expression. And the context of service, just having the context of service sometimes can help us to shift out of that hiding. Now, the minute I say that, I'm like, well, miss, you're saying this. How are you going to live that?
Yeah. 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 I think in what comes into my mind at this minute is sometimes we just have to get our egos out of the way. Actually, most of the time, all the time, we have to get our ego out of the way, and we have to really listen to what has heart and meaning for us. If what has heart and meaning is that we contribute to the whole, we contribute to the whole moving forward, i.e., people have to sing and somebody's got to keep them together. That's contributing to the whole. It's not an ego serving me function. It's a function that fits and again moves the group forward. And so I think that is part of the mindset that makes a difference. I mean, I'm only imagining, I don't know. And if there are any classical harpists or musicians watching, I'm imagining that part of the way you play classical music that maybe you played over and over and you have to practice, 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 get just right because it's with this larger group that it has to be a certain way, is that you have to find a point, I'm imagining, of felt connection. There has to be a heartfelt meaning for you and the piece of music you're playing and what you're adding. And so I think it's the same thing for those of us who are more, beginner intermediate harpists, is where's the heart and
Right.
meaning in what I'm doing? And having that mindset and putting ourselves in the context of heart and meaning is very different than if my mindset is I should be playing like that person who has dedicated their entire life to playing and played 4 to 5 hours a day for the
Right.
last 50 years. I'm never going to be there. That's
Well,
not.
yeah.
So if I have that mindset and want that context, I totally dismiss who I am and my own
Right.
strengths
And what you can bring forth in the
and
world.
what I can bring forth.
And I think that this is where recordings, it's recordings and concert halls and all of that, and it's beautiful because there are times when we do just want to be played to,
Hmm.
and yet I think there's something about us, as soon as we can do something, it doesn't seem good enough. As soon as I can play this, it's not good enough. But when I first get the harp, oh my God, listen, oh my God, listen, it's playing. And we somehow lose that. That's not good enough anymore. And it's not good enough unless it's more. And it's fun to create more. I can hear myself being kind of sounding like I'm whining or something because I'm struggling with this in myself as well. How to allow self expression in a way that's easy. Like, and my aunt all the time, when she talks, she's just very self-expressed. And so it's a full experience to talk to her. And I see some people in the academy who will allow that beauty, will allow that. And it's almost like it's a collaboration with life, body, and music that can happen if we allow it.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that we won't then become flashy musicians. We may never become flashy musicians, but we will be engaging in that life force of bringing music into the world and bringing music to someone, not some many, someone.
Yeah, well, you know,
Mm.
the minute we find ourselves saying that's not good enough or that's not enough,
Mm.
I'm going to this next week, and I would invite you all, everyone who's listening, to stop and say, okay, what's my mindset behind that comment? What's the
Mm.
mindset if I'm saying to myself, this is not enough? This is not good enough. It's got to be more and more. What's my mindset? Because I guarantee you, when I'm saying that to myself, or any of you all are, that what's going on is we are comparing ourselves and we're getting into competition mode with other people. And Angela Sarian used to say, the minute we compare or compete, we cut ourselves in half.
Right.
And so I
Mm.
think we have to stop when we get that self commentary. Well, that's not enough. That's not whatever. We have to stop and say, okay, what's the mindset? What are the beliefs that are contributing to this? What context am I back in? You know, because that mindset is deadly. And again, it is a mindset that's going to keep us stuck in toxic shame. You know, I'm bad. And
Right.
so at some point, we have to take ourselves gently, and I always say gently in hand, and we have to say, this is false. Stop it. You know, stop this. I'm tired of suffering with this. We have to take ourselves in hand and have that conversation with that part of us, confront that part of us that keeps wanting to cut us in half.
As you're talking, two words are coming to my mind. One is popularity, worrying
Mm,
about being popular. And then the other one is when I heard myself say, you're playing to someone. And the moment I heard that, I heard it for the
mm,
first time. Someone,
mhm.
someone. And it made me realize that whenever I am sharing, whether it's on social media or if it's in a concert or if it's out, whatever it is, it's real. All that matters is one. And that one might be myself.
Right.
And that's a new thought for me to really, um, it's a new context for me to think of the value of the one. And yet it's so interesting. My musical, The Golden Cage, is always teaching me new things. And I think I just got something today that I had never gotten before, which is that connection with the one. That is the thing that unlocks that cage,
Yes.
not the connection with the many.
Right.
It might
Yes.
be many, but it is one at one by one.
Yes. Yes.
Ah,
Yeah, I think what you're saying is profound, and it's a great thought for us to hold as we bring this to a close today. I'm thinking of one of my Allisons who's always working with marketing people for her business. And she will say, they're always saying, you have to speak to the one because otherwise you get so general, no one hears you. And I do believe that if I sit at my harp and I play for the one, for me, for where I am in the moment, that will touch someone. And interestingly enough, part of what's happened for me over the last year with this book project, that hopefully is in the last round of edits before I start querying publishers, um, is I finally got it. I'm writing this book for me. I'm writing this book for the me in junior high was trying to make sense of this. I'm writing this book for the me that was in college studying this. I'm writing this book for me that 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, decided to get married a second time. And when I got that, it totally changed uh, my felt sense. It totally changed not just my felt sense about the project, but my relaxing into it and trusting my words. Because the heart and meaning of it then became speaking to my own self and my journey. And knowing my journey is unique to me like yours is to you, but it's also common because we all have the same basic emotions and affects and experiences. It looks different. So I think that when I can be at my harp with that, or my book project with that, or a conversation with someone from that place, then the simplicity or complexity just has no thought in my mind because I'm just being.
I love what you said, and I was thinking about even my teaching. What if I could approach the teaching that I'm doing for the person who needed that when I was 10 or whatever, or 22 or whatever. And I discovered it all slowly. But if someone had come in and said, hey, like this is this, just put this together. And I just realized that one of the things that I teach in the academy is this snippet every week, which is how to be creative.
Mhm.
But what I realized I haven't been doing, and that I want to start doing, is say, and how do you put that together? So that's your Anna moment. That's the thing that's the creativity.
Mhm.
Let's put it with the Edith part, the part of functionality. Let's put it together over and over and over again so you see how it's put together and it becomes something that you know how to do. I keep telling people how to do it, but I realize that showing and
Mhm.
doing over and over again gives people in. And I mean, this is why I created the fake book,
Mhm.
activation sessions where people are playing along. But I realized I could be doing it more and more, and that I can do it for myself as well, that I can create. And it's crazy because this quarter is called Structure is Freedom. And you just gave me a whole new way to look at that and to engage with it.
Yeah.
And we've got some just beautiful people are
Thank
just saying lovely things, like such
you.
great insight. And Victoria saying connection with the one. I love that. Me too. It lets me be present. So Kathleen, once again, thank you.
Mhm.
It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you for everybody who listens and who comments while we're here and who comments while we're not here and lets us know. I don't know if you get this, Kathleen, people saying, I watched this episode and blah, 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 and it's really wonderful to be part of that. And you can now see the episodes or hear the episodes at wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
And we're releasing both the new ones and older ones bit by bit so that you will have all of those. And thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you. And I
Mhm.
will go forth and harp on.
Visit jungatharp.com for show notes, contact links, and to follow the ongoing conversation. That's Jung, as in Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, and harp, as in the many-stringed instrument.